100 Gecs, 10,000 Gecs album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest album from 100 Gecs, Missouri-based hyper-pop duo of Dylan Brady and Laura Les, who over the last couple of years have gone from borderline a meme to one of the most respectable and influential acts in modern hyperpop. Now, around the time of their 1000 Gecs debut album, I did not review it at the time, but a few short months later, I did fall in love with it. I did really enjoy it, but in the years since, I've only loved it more and more and more. And honestly, I think it's a little underrated at the end of the day. I mean, the tracks on this album, especially the singles, they've held up so well. Now, shortly after, we did get this massive remix album from them. Yes, 1000 Gecs and the Tree of Clues. Now, leading up to this album, I said to myself, it's a remix album. It's not gonna go hard. It goes pretty hard. Actually, I think it's required listening. I mean, this thing has so many great mixes, and all of your modern hyperpop favorites are here. Name them, they're on the album. Cara Cara Bonito, Rico Nasty, Charlie XCX, Dorian Electra, Black Dresses, more PC music than your boy can count as well, and some really interesting surprises that I did not expect as well, like Nicole Dollanganger and Injury Reserve, Fall Out Boy. Now, the last time we heard from them was this little short EP they dropped in December. I don't think any of those tracks actually have migrated to this album, but that's okay. I could kind of take them or leave them. But the singles that were leading up to this album I thought were really fun, and what do you know? This album is just fun. Dumbest Girl Alive, I mean, this track gets me pretty hyped. I'm not gonna lie. The wailing guitars, that big meaty bass, this is just so good. And this track has personality for days. I mean, most of this album does. It's really good. I love the wonky beat and the gigantic bass drops that we get here. It's fun. It's abrasive ear candy, and it's completely out of left field, but it is a lot of fun. But I would just be completely lying if I wasn't completely hyped by this track, on my feet, and ready for the rest of the album. 757 is a much headier track, featuring a blink and you'll miss about 10 details vocal performance and a gigantic beat. And listen, if you are not a fan of the duo style, this album is not going to fix a damn thing. But the melodic verses, the colorful atmosphere, the TIE Fighter from Star Wars sampling, this is money. Now, there is an anthemic quality to just about every track on this album, but Hollywood Baby definitely does stand out. This track is explosive. I love just how sticky the guitars are. They are so instantaneous. And just about every hook on this album is just so instantaneous. And like many early singles from 100 Gecs, this track has different genres clashing, different inspirations clashing, definitely some classic emo in there as well. And I've enjoyed Doritos and Fritos since it dropped as a single. This upbeat winding rip and the overall fun of this track is just so it's so fun. I mean, we're literally talking about stoned ramblings over an upbeat hyperpop riff, but honestly, there is a magic to it. It works. It just ends up becoming an anthem. Again, I mean, if you're not having fun with this album, I suggest you turn your brain off and try again, because it's a lot of fun. Now, I do have to point out, this is far from a songwriting masterpiece, this album, and 100 Gecs' style is not going to be for everybody. And there are moments here where I worry that it's not even for me. Like, take, for example, Frog on the Floor. The 100 Gecs catalog, it's nothing fancy, folks. And songwriting, I mean, like, I'm just going to say it. Their songwriting hasn't always been eye-opening or, game-changing, but at least it's been fun. But then I hear this, and it's abysmal. I genuinely hate this track so much. This is 100 Gecs trying out a goofball pop sound with some minor ska influences. But spoiler alert, they do that much better later on. Yeah, this track is not for me. This sounds like an AI tried to put together a 100 Gecs tune. And with $1 million, the fun that I was having just hits a wall completely. This album is so full, jam-packed full of mindless fun. But then I hear this, and I would do anything for a captivating line or a sticky hook. And the jazzy breakdown that we get after one noisy blast after another, I feel like we're lost here, guys. We're lost. Outside of that, though, I did have my reservations leading into this album. But it's fun, guys. Remember fun? I mean, Billy Knows Jamie, this track just kind of cements what I already knew, and that is, you don't really know what you're going to hear on a 100 Gecs album. This track comes armed with some new metal riffs and a rapped vocal performance that would make Fred Durst look at this and say, this guy's a bit much. But it's so good. For a heavier, more agitated sound, this clicks. It's so over the top, to ridiculous levels, so much so that by the end of this track, I don't know where we are anymore. And the Most Wanted Person in the United States is probably one of the bigger risks taken on this album. It's much more dark and visceral sounding, much more sample-oriented as well. There are no zany bass drops or vocal effects that might alienate some, but it's still an absolute blast. And speaking of absolute blast, I got my tooth removed. Holy hell. I mean, this track starts off as a true blue ballad, like it actually took me off guard by, how genuinely beautiful it sounds. It's probably the closest thing we're going to get to a portion of a ballad from 100 Gecs. It's patient, it's emotional, it's really sweet, all that before turning out into a ska punk ballad for the ages. And listen, modern ska, I don't really have many thoughts on it. I was a big ska guy in my teens, and then I hear this, and this is done so unbelievably tastefully, and it is so catchy. It is making me so happy. All the while remaining completely 100 Gecs at the end of the day. Like, take a look at Frog on the Floor compared to this track. There's no comparison. And is there any other way this album could end than Me? No, there really isn't. All of your favorite elements from 100 Gecs are here, and, booming as always. The blasts of energy, the oddly endearing vocals, it is all really, really enjoyable. This album overall is. I mean, yeah, there's two big blips on my radar that are pretty hard to listen to. I mean, I wish this album was a little bit longer, because, God, they've dropped 2 albums and we don't even have an hour's worth of material from the band. And on top of that, just, I don't know. I do feel like maybe the songs on 1000 Gecs was a little bit more instantaneous, but I digress. This album is nothing short of an absolute blast. And if you do enjoy it, I'm glad. If you don't enjoy it, turn your brain off and try again, because it's a lot of fun. I'm feeling a very light 8 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.